Welcome to Story Artist, and today I want to teach you how to build a website, landing page or sales page using the methods of storytelling, the most proven methods in the whole wide world. To talk to people, communicate to people, and communicate an idea, a product, or whatever you want to your customers, to your audience, to your readers, to your tribe. And for this we will use the principles of storytelling and Thrive Architect. This video is not sponsored. I just love Thrive Architect and I think that this is like one of the best drag and drop builders for websites and landing pages. So I just will show you on the example of my page how I built my landing page, my website with Thrive Architect and with the principles of storytelling. Let's get started. One of the most important ones is that your storytelling has to be congruent and authentic throughout. So your wording and your design, your colors, your pictures, everything has to fit together into the story that you want to tell. So first you need to realize what is the story that I want to tell. To help you find out what this really is, we will talk about the next principles, but just realize that everything on your website communicates, be it the wording, be it the images that you put there, be it your logo, be it the colors that you decide to put on your website, everything communicates. So to tell a story, a congruent story, you have to make sure that everything on the website fits together into this one story. Because consciously or subconsciously, your website visitor will pay attention to all of these things. Trust me, like in the movies and like in everything else, the visitor, the customer, the audience, they think that everything is there for a purpose. And subconsciously, those things influence them. And they will make sure and they will also determine whether the visitor will believe the story you're trying to tell him or her. Number 2, define the characters. So ideally, there are a lot of characters, obviously, but because we're talking about something as short as a landing page, there are only 3 characters that matter. And the most important character, of course, you guessed it, is the hero. And every time we talk about copywriting and every time we talk about marketing with storytelling, the hero is always the website visitor, the customer, the reader, the audience. They are your hero. Never make the mistake that you are the hero of the story. You're not. You have a different role. You are the mentor. You are the one that they meet and the one that will show them the way to solve their problem. You are the one who shows empathy for them, understanding for them, shows and communicates that you know their problem and you have a solution for them. But the hero always remains the customer, and in this case, the website visitor. And also, as always, there is a villain. So make sure to pinpoint that villain and create a mutual villain. Create a villain that they can identify with. It can be a real person or a real organization, but it can also be something else like the fear or imposter syndrome or whatever they're feeling. But make sure to create a villain that causes the conflict. Number 3, define the conflict. And the conflict is always twofold. First, you have the external conflict. And the external conflict is something that comes from the desire of your customer. So think about it like that. Your visitor comes to your web page, landing page, for a reason. They desire something. They have a goal. And you need to know what they desire. You need to know their goal. Because if you know this, you will know their conflict. And this goal has to be specific. Like with every good book and every good story, the goal cannot be become popular or be more successful. It's too abstract. You have to know a very specific goal, like write more words per day on a page, like finish a novel, or whatever this goal is. You have to know this goal very specifically in order to address the problem. And the external conflict is exactly that problem. What do they want, but cannot get. And this is the conflict, the one thing they cannot get. And you have to address it. You have to name it, you have to talk about this, and you have to let the people know that you understand this conflict and you want to address it and you know what this external conflict is. And the other side of the coin is always the internal conflict. There is no full story without both sides, and there is always an internal conflict. Think about the internal conflict of your website visitor. What's holding him back? It can be certain fears, it can be doubts, it can be the lack of something, for example, the lack of joy. Whatever it is, these internal issues are always the deep-seated conflicts and problems behind this external issue. Always address them as well. This is really, really important. And number 4, and this is what many forget to do, address and define the theme. The theme is the underlying point of your story, something that talks about the deepest issues of humanity, something that makes a universal point. So think about it like this: the story that you want to tell has to make a certain statement about humanity itself. For example, in my website, and you will see this, and I even write it out loud, my theme is that every good story deserves a platform and deserves to be heard and seen and read. And this is something that you need to address in your storytelling. You don't have to spell it out, you can, but you don't have to, but you have to at least underlyingly address this universal theme, some statement that you want to make about this world with your product, with your with what you're offering to your website visitor, what you're offering to solve their problem. It has to have a universal statement about life in itself, about humanity, and you have to at least at some points bring it out. Maybe not directly, but at least indirectly. So let's summarize. You have your 4 points and they make up your story. First of all, you need a hero, and the hero is also always the website visitor. So what does he want? Who is he or she? What does he or she want? What's their ultimate specific goal? And you are the mentor. How can you help them reach this goal? And then there is a villain. Who or what is standing in the way of them getting this goal? So what's the obstacle? What's the ultimate villain? You have to define them. And these are the points of your story. And then you think about, okay, these are the conflicts. So what does my hero want? This is the conflict that results from it. And then I go deeper and think about, okay, what's the internal conflict? What's holding him or her back internally? And then I think about the theme. What is my story initially about? What statement do I want to make about humanity, about this world? And then you think about, okay, how can I combine all these things that I want to tell my story with, the atmosphere of my story, and bring them onto the web page? What colors are powerful for that? What images are powerful for that? How can I make a congruent story throughout on my website? And now we'll get into the structure, because every good story has a very simple yet very powerful structure that we call the 3-act structure. And I will show you how you can apply this 3-act structure to your website, to your landing page. On the example of my own website, I will show you how I did that, how I applied the structure, and how all of these things that we talked about and more principles that you can use for storytelling can be practically applied on your landing page and on your website. Let's dive into it. The 3-act structure always starts with a hook, visually and with wording, with talking about the problem. Here, think also about your personal goal for your website. Do you want sales? Do you want signups? Or what is the goal of your website in general? So my goal for this website, this is this landing page of my website, Story Artist with Me, is signups. And this is why I have my sign up page right here, directly at the very, very beginning. So in the beginning, you want to hook your reader with something really interesting, with, like I like to say, the pink elephant, a mental image that he won't forget so easily, something that hooks him, and also with very hooky wording. So with the first one, I started with get your free book and video course, which is really hooky. I hope, this is at least what I think, that this image is also really interesting for creatives, the Storyteller's Blueprint, the free book and video course, and the wording right here. If you're a content creator, you need this book. You want your site visitor to have a question in mind. Why do I need this book? I'm a content creator. Why do I need this book? So I first of all, I know who the hero is, content creators. I address them specifically and I give him this hook. You need this book. Without this book, you won't be able to be a good content creator. And this is like the hook that I post. For some, this is already enough. And this is why many landing pages are just this one thing. But I think we can do better. We can use more principles of storytelling and we can use them for our advantage and to get the people who are hesitating at that point to sign up later. So when we scroll down, what I did here is use the principle of show, don't tell. Because show, don't tell is a very, very powerful principle when it comes to websites. Don't tell them that you're somebody who empathizes with them, that you're somebody whom they can trust. Instead, show them. Show them that you are somebody whom they can trust either because you appeared on all of these trusted sources, names that they know or should know at least. Or you can show them by different means. Like, for example, you show them your results, you show them your the reviews of your customers and so on, depending on what your page consists of. But show them your trustworthiness and that your results actually work. Don't just tell them. And then we go into empathy right here. This is such a powerful weapon. Empathy, to show them that you know what they're fighting for, you know what's inside of them, you understand their internal and external conflicts. And I started with, you have something to give to this world. And I think every content creator feels this way. We have something to give. We have something to offer. We want to express ourselves to this world in several different ways. And this is where I go deep and say, okay, you want to write a book, or a song, make a short film, start a podcast, create outstanding products. This is the desire that we talked about, the goal that they have. Yeah. So I know that this is the desire, something to share with the world. And here now comes the first turning point, which introduces the main conflict. This desire will likely die soon. Why? Here we go. Because there is no connection, because they are not heard, because it's so hard to find your tribe in a world where there's just so much information overload. And this is the first turning point where I pick up the main external conflict and say, okay, this is your conflict. I know you're a content creator. I know you want to share something with this world, but you're not heard. Nobody sees you. Nobody hears you. You have no connection because there's just too much out there. Okay, and then I go deeper into this conflict. I show that there's so many users on the internet. It's constantly growing, and this is where you actually address the problem. You have to speak about the problem. You have to show that you understand the conflict. The conflict is the main element of a story. So you have to spend a lot with showing the conflict and showing and telling that the conflict is actually something really, really serious. You have to raise the stakes for the story. And then you go deeper and you say, okay, what do I do? Do I have to yell? Do I have to go viral? Do I crawl away and give up? What are actually my possibilities? I raise the conflict. I raise the stakes. And then we are at the midpoint of the story where we try to make a cut. That's actually what I made. I made a cut and I went into a different direction. The midpoint of the story is where the story turns around, where something new is introduced, and where there's a new turning point, a major turning point of the story. And here we talk about why stories are memorable, and that the power of storytelling is something that can save you from this information overload and not being heard. So my midpoint is actually talking about the power of storytelling. And then we go into more setup. So we talk about why storytelling is powerful, but it's also difficult to master, but it's the only way to make a real impact. And you have an amazing story to tell, and I'm here to teach you. So I raised the stakes. I try to convince my visitor that storytelling is actually the way to go, because it is something that works with everybody, because it's in our DNA. And then we go to the last turning point, the third turning point, where you introduce the last piece of information before you go to the climatic moment. And the last piece of information for me now here is that, okay, you have to start with my mini course and my free ebook, The Storyteller's Blueprint. And here we are at the climatic moment. The climatic moment is really well done if you have these points, and all of these points have to be interesting because you introduce a lot of ideas. You introduce them fast, like with a climatic moment. You remember probably in every movie where you have a climatic moment, you have like the final battle, everything happens at once, lots of action. And this is what you want here as well. You want lots of action. You can achieve this, for example, through bullet points, but you also can achieve it through a video that you insert, for example, or something else that is full of action and full of information and full of, not information, but I'd say rather emotion, full of emotion. This is where I have these bullet points where I say, okay, most important principles, the only question you need to answer, the secret weapon of storytelling. Everything else that comes after this, it has to be emotional, and it has to invite the visitor to do the action that you want him or her to do at the end. This is the climatic moment, and then I go into the resolution where I drop the tension and say, okay, you have nothing to lose, embark on the storyteller's journey, and invite him or her to the call to action. Subscribe to my video, to my email list to get the free book and video course, and start right here. So these are the principles for the structure, the storytelling structure on your website. Start with a really good hook, then get off with empathy. So you introduce and show that you understand the hero, you understand his problem. And with the first turning point, you introduce the main conflict. What's preventing him from what he or she desires? What is the main conflict? You explain, go into more detail, raise the stakes, and then you introduce something new, something different with the midpoint. Might be a solution, might be an answered question, but you raise new ones. Like with me, I said, okay, the solution is storytelling, but how do I master storytelling then? The third turning point has to introduce the last piece of information, which is, okay, get my book, do this, do that. And then you go into the climatic moment, which has a really, really good structure of action, emotion, and gets your visitor to the point where he performs the action that you want him to perform. Remember, storytelling is all about emotions. And when we look at the whole thing in Thrive Architect, you will see that the first element is actually a content box with the background of the image. So this is just the image in the background, and I can move it like this. It's not always ideal. I might have to adjust this one to go a little deeper, because this is the only element actually in the content box, Thrive Leads element, but I might have to adjust it a little and make it a little more, take it a little deeper, so when I go out that it doesn't go onto the text, which is an image in itself. And I have in this, so when you can see, I have the shortcode. It's in a content box in a column, and here's another column because I want here to be more space, and the whole thing is a content box with an image. This one is a little bit more complicated. Then I have a content box with a gray background, and then I have this like an image on this gray background. Here I have a logo and a custom menu where I just have where I have links to my blog, my about page, podcasts, and courses. You can leave it out, or you can just put it in there, whatever you like. And the rest is actually quite simple. So I have a text element right here. I have image element, text, image, text, image. I like to insert lots of images, and this is like the beauty with Thrive Architect, that you can also insert pre-made content boxes. It's a template, like you can see, with it's a template for a quote, and I brought in a quote as well. It was already there, all of this. I just had to insert the text and change the fonts to match everything else. And I actually picked that font because I feel like it feels creative. It feels like it's in a book. And then I have this image again, text element. This is another one of Thrive Architect pre-made templates, which is a styled list. And in this styled list, you can actually choose the icons, and I chose a light bulb. Then you insert the different text elements. Here's another text, and here's the same. I have a section with an image and 2 columns, so like the one I did here on the above. Just right here at the bottom, I like to insert also this one as well, my image, introducing myself, and then I have this. I have also the Thrive theme builder, which is really, really beautiful, and I can insert or leave out the footer the way I want it. I can just leave it out if I want to. I can insert it, and it's already pre-made. And if I save my work, this is so beautifully done. Just drag and drop, really, really simple, really, really powerful. And the good thing is also you can look how it looks on the phone. You might have to do some changes, like when you see on the phone, I have a different kind of image. I have an image that's only there. You can look at it. This content box is only, if you go to responsive, it's only for mobile. So you can't see it on the desktop version. It's only for mobile, and I have the book and the fonts and the text elements different. It's a different image basically, and I put it there. I adjusted the spacing right here, and I made the images a little bit bigger, and that's basically it actually. And here I have the image here and the sign up, the leads shortcode right here. And that's about it. And this is the beauty. You can also make your site mobile friendly without any effort. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up, like my channel, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. What are your experiences? What is your take on building a website with the principles of storytelling? And if you like Thrive Architect, go ahead and get this, because it's really, really awesome. They have a great support, also customer support. And I hope you liked it, you enjoyed it, and I see you next time.